Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. My name is Lisa Blaisdell, and I am here with Dr. Carol Lourie. And I am so excited to ask you some questions, Dr. Lourie. As a health advocate myself, I just love learning from professionals and advocates such as yourself. And I've done a little bit of homework, and you're up in Northern California, where I'm sure you have a very busy practice. How did this all start for you? How did your own personal journey around health and serving other people to help their health all get started for you?
I think everyone who's in this field has some type of inner calling. And for me, ever since I was little, I knew that there could and there was a better way. And I always wanted to be a doctor. And I was living in a spiritual community in New York City, and my roommate had cancer. And I went with her to Memorial Sloan Kettering when the oncologist said, "There's nothing more we can do for you." And she didn't believe that. So she found this chiropractor who did iridology detoxifying diets. And this was in the early 70s. And you have to understand that nobody even knew what iridology was, more or less detoxifying.
Right.
I started working in his office, and I saw people come in who had been the rejects of the medical profession, in that they hadn't been able to be helped, or they had actually been made worse through antibiotic use or drug use. And week after week, month after month, these people were coming back into his office, and they looked great. So I started believing in this detoxing thing, and I started detoxifying with his protocol myself. And one day I was going through this big pile of paperwork, and there was a catalog to the National College of Naturopathic Medicine. And it was one of those aha moments. I knew I had found my path, and I went to that school and graduated in 1983 and came to California, got my acupuncture license. So it's hard for me to believe that I've been doing this for more than 30 years. Every day is a blessing to be able to help people recover their health.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for you, and good for your roommate. That is quite forward thinking in the 70s to say, I don't believe you. I'm going to take this into my own hands. And I just think so many people in this country do not feel that they can be their own advocates, and that if they're given a diagnosis or a sentence of any kind, they take it at face value. They don't think, okay, there's other things here. I'm going to keep digging. So it's so great that you exist for people that want to keep digging and want to take control of their own health, which is so important. So tell me a little bit about who you see on a weekly basis. What's a typical, I don't know if you, I know that you have different modalities that you treat from, mental health and autoimmune and cancer, but is there a specific area that you see more of, especially in maybe today than even 30 years ago when you first started?
Well, I think people have changed a lot in 30 years, and people are becoming more empowered. Just to mention briefly, I think part of the problem in our country is the drug companies and the budget they have for advertising is so huge that anytime you watch television, there are these very subtle messages. That one of my favorites is there's this obese man sitting there, and he's eating some hamburger, greasy, and it's dripping there. And it's a commercial for over-the-counter antacid product. It's like, nobody should be eating like that. And if you have acid indigestion, you should be eating like soups and steamed vegetables and gluten-free, not greasy fried food. But lately, I think, as opposed to one specific area, it's more of a mindset. The people who come, I usually work with women. I do see men, but just my practice is more female, women oriented. And I'd say it's more about saying no to the sick syndrome. And finding that place inside of yourself where you think, I don't have to take these pills. I don't have to have this illness. I really want to embrace health, and I'm willing to do the hard work of what it takes to recover my health. And it is hard work. It's not necessarily easy. There's a lot of changes that have to happen. And I also incorporate the emotional component of disease, which I think is really important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with you 100% about the pharmaceutical companies. It's unbelievable what they are allowed to do. Um, so good for you for being that advocate for your patients. So my background and my passion is in nutrition, and I know that you have a variety of different areas that you help your patients with. But what big of a, I mean, I know what the answer is, but how much do you see change in your patients when they adopt a healthier diet?
Um, I don't think you can get better unless you change the foundation of your nutrition. And nutrition is the foundation of your health. So that, as what you do, where I start is always the foundation, and it is the nutritional component of how people eat. You cannot recover from an autoimmune illness if you're eating hamburgers and French fries with regular bread. And I even take it.
Oops, are you there? Dr. Laura, I lost you.
I do with people, taking into consideration people's food allergies and their intolerances. And usually, almost everyone, I recommend everyone to be gluten-free. And where I live, it's not that difficult. You know, you can go into any restaurant, and even if you want to eat a hamburger, and that's another conversation. I hope that the meat is farm to table meat, but you can just get the hamburger without the bread. And
Right.
you don't have to feel deprived. So I think it's a mindset. So you can go into any place and get a grilled piece of beautiful protein with vegetables and have a salad and feel full and satisfied. I had a woman who wanted Italian food, and she brought a thing of pasta with her, a gluten-free pasta, into the Italian restaurant and said, I want this. Can you make it for me with your sauce? So there are lots of possibilities. You don't have to feel deprived. It's a version of, is the glass half empty or half full?
Well, and it's like you said at the beginning, it's a mindset shift, right? And you know, especially where you are in the Bay Area and I'm in Southern California, there's so many incredible options today. And I do think around the country, because I think the gluten-free movement has allowed so many more options for people to have some of the things that they would like to have. What's your take though on some of the gluten-free replacements
Yeah,
for,
good question.
yeah, because I'm all about whole food and you know, getting the food, but there's people that they still want their crackers, so they're going to, you know, load up on those gluten-free crackers. What's your take on that?
Um, I don't think it's good. I mean, the whole thing about gluten-free is, unfortunately, a lot of the grains are white.
Mm-hmm.
So, and eating a ton of crackers, whether the gluten-free or not gluten-free, is still not healthy for you. So I'm more of a whole food person, and I'm not talking about if you're having a dinner party and you have 3 crackers, but so often people just, once they get started with the crackers, or I'm a potato chip addict. I cannot touch a potato chip because it's very hard not to eat the entire bag.
Yeah.
So full disclosure there. So I mean, there's something addictive about those foods, and I think you need to really be honest with yourself about what your tendency is. So I don't open potato chips, and I don't do pretzels, whether they're gluten-free or not. And I really, if I'm going to have a few crackers at a party, I will take like 3 and put them on my plate, and really make sure that I have the inner willpower to not go back for the seconds and the thirds. That's something that we all have to be honest with ourselves about.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's your position then on dairy? Because that's a whole nother
Yeah.
component of this as well.
Um, Everybody's really different. Some people can eat dairy and be okay. First of all, it needs to be 100% organic. I do not think adults need to drink milk,
Yeah.
cow's milk. Where I live, there's these local people that make 100% whole milk organic yogurt. And I think that is very healthy. So I think if you can tolerate it, to have a half a cup or a cup of plain yogurt every day is very beneficial for your microbiome, your gut, and your bones. But there are some people who absolutely cannot do that. So it's really on an individual basis. I also think feta cheese is okay. In fact, I'm having a little bit for lunch today with my Mediterranean style salads. So, but everybody's different. Some people cannot do feta cheese, and I do feta with it, which is sheep or goat. It's local and organic. Sometimes people, Parmesan cheese and Parmesan Reggiano is actually very healthy for you. So, and pesto is very healthy for you with the fat, the oil, the basil, the Parmesan Reggiano, and the nuts. It's a very healthy, complete, wonderful condiment. So, I think the key is to not be rigid.
Right.
People are sick and don't feel well. So if you apply this rigid approach to how you eat, it's just going to make people feel bad. And that is not great for anybody. Food should be about nourishment and nurturing and enjoyment, not like, oh my God, I can't eat this. I don't, that gets people into a bad place. And then they just say the heck with it. And they just start eating, fast food again.
Right.
And people need to realize it takes a while, to change these habits.
Yeah. Yeah. It absolutely does.
So my approach is, for the majority of time, be 90 to 89, 100%. But if it's your birthday, if it's a special occasion, if it's the holidays and you want to blurb a little bit, deviate a little bit, I think that's okay, unless you're really sick, for example. But for the majority, it's like, if you're going out for business lunch, it's just as easy to stay on program than it is to get pasta. I mean, which is not, eventually that stuff is not going to make you feel good when you eat it.
Right. Exactly. Well, I'm thrilled to hear your take on feta cheese, because that's really my favorite cheese, and I don't eat it a lot, but I don't want to give it up either.
Yeah, no, of course not.
Yeah, no, it's delicious. And then, just lastly, this is so helpful and informative. I really love talking with you. What do you think the biggest challenges that we have as a society? I mean, this is kind of a bigger overarching question, but in terms of really educating our population around the very specific scientifically proven connection between nutrition, lifestyle choices, exercise, and good health. I mean, I work at this every day, and I feel like we've come a long way, but I feel we also have a lot of work to do. And, what's your approach or philosophy around, kind of where we need to go and as a country to really make strides so that, practitioners like you are the norm, and not kind of a last resort, so to speak?
It's a very complex topic. You have to realize that we're up against the billions of dollars of advertising from the fast food industry.
Yeah.
And also, I know this sounds weird, but I watched this series called The Wire, which was about these kids in the ghetto, the drug ghetto of Baltimore, which is not to say anything negative about Baltimore, but it could have been any city. It could have been Philadelphia, where I'm from, or New York, or Boston. It doesn't matter. But these people were really poverty-stricken, and they had social family trauma, and they lacked certain support skills. And for them to go and get a 99-cent meal from the local hamburger place, which had, a hamburger and French fries and a piece of lettuce and a tomato and a Coke, that was what they ate for the day. So it's like, how do you combat that?
Yeah.
And it's not just about the fact that they were eating that, it's that they had no family structure. They had, there are a lot of people who have traumatic family structure moments, and they're up against that. So, and also the other part of functional medicine is, unfortunately, it's not inexpensive.
Right. Yeah.
So I think the larger question is, how can we make this more the norm?
Right.
And so that it's affordable for everyone. And one of the things I would like to do in my quote retirement, and then after I stop being so active in my practice, is to go into school systems and start working with the school systems about how they feed their children, and maybe set up a big garden and start having kids realize where real food comes from.
Yes.
And the other thing that's lacking in a lot of these poor neighborhoods is there isn't a store that sells fresh vegetables.
Right.
So the people really are suffering and discriminated against in that way. So it's a societal problem. It's not just one person, and it needs to start with the families and the neighborhoods, and how do we bring in fresh vegetables to neighborhoods, and maybe give them away so people can get a sense of what it's like to eat a carrot. I mean, I had a family in my practice that I was doing pro bono work, and they had never had a vegetable outside of a can.
Wow.
And I'm not exaggerating, and this is the Bay Area. So poverty is endemic to any neighborhood, and people need to be educated in a really positive way so that they can then begin to adopt new approaches as they become adults.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love what you want to do with the schools. I think that's so incredible. There's a great, you may know who he is, a colleague of mine. His name is Stephen Ritz, the Green Bronx Machine, and he has built hundreds of acres full of gardens in the Bronx with some of his kids. And it's just so exciting to see.
That's life-changing for everyone.
It really, really is. Yeah. It's so cool. Well, how can people find you, Dr. Lourie? You're so resourceful and full of information. I could ask you questions all afternoon, but I know you're busy. I want to honor your time. And do you have a book? Do you have some resources that people can connect with you with, even if they're not in the Bay Area?
Oh, absolutely. My website is CarolLourie, LOURIE.com. And I have a lot of free downloads there. I have a healthy nutrition guide. I have a healthy hormone guide. I have a healthy toxin-free home guide. There's a little thing on meditation. There's a handout on gluten-free. And I put handouts on there like every month. I add something new. So I just am in the process of adding a new mini detox guide, and that's going to be down on my website shortly by the end of this week. So I really am into supporting people with free things. And I don't have a book yet, but this year, in the next 2 months, I'll be launching my online breast cancer course.
Ooh, wow.
It's called Breast Cancer and the Feminine, Healing with Energy, Empowerment, and Grace. And it's going to have a lot about mindset if you're going through breast cancer treatment, and also tips and tools about how to manage some of the side effects and prepare for chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, and get the support that you need to get through breast cancer treatment. And I know this sounds very strange, but it is possible to be in better shape at the end than it was when you started. So it's about empowerment with love and kindness and mindset. And I hope to reach 100,000 women through the use of the internet. Thank you, Facebook.
Yes.
And people like you. And that will be coming probably sometime in April. I'm in process, working a lot to produce it. It's a wonderful, heartfelt calling of mine.
Oh, that sounds so awesome. Well, I would love to get the word out about that for sure.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lourie. You're absolutely incredible. I so appreciate the work that you do. And if I'm ever in Berkeley, I will make an appointment to come and see you.
No, forget appointment. We're just going to go out for a healthy lunch.
I love that. I love that.
I would love that, Lisa.
So much. Again, and I will be in touch and get you this recording so that you can use it and share your wisdom with so many people. We need more people like you.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Take care.